Alright, I'm going to show you how to work the Ipod Nano watch, make it work for you in terms of the battery life, and also how to put it on your wrist and still make it look professional. Now, as you know, when you click the button here, you can actually draw up the watch signals, and then when you move it across the screen you get to the iPod details and how to play the songs and things. So what I do is use it as a watch, although to get the time you do have to press this one button. Now the biggest problem is the power doesn't last long, and that's been everybody's complaint, is when you shut it off it doesn't really come off and the battery is still churning and still working unless you just let it sit for a day. So basically, as you can see in some of the other Google or YouTube sites, you press all three buttons all at once, and if you give it a few seconds the watch will actually turn off, and then you keep those three buttons on and you will get this data here. Now without ever moving it up and down with the buttons here, there's a standby position. You press that and the iPod actually does turn off. So right now it's actually off. I don't use the other settings that were listed there, I just ignore them. Now if you press the button again, the power will start to come on. You can see it's rebooting, and now you have the watch. So at night, and this is very simple, at night what I do is I just press these three buttons again. I'm just going to show you again, and the iPod Nano will turn off, turn back on, and then come back with these symbols. Now with all this information, this is obviously how the Apple tech guys are actually looking at your machine. Now you can see there is a sign of how much battery life I have there, which is probably about 70% good. But again, there's the standby mode right there. I just press the button and it turns off. Now the other key to having a watch is, out of this Ipod Nano, is using two of these little eBay type of bands. This one was about $2.80. This one's about $3.50. This is the one I use because it's a little more durable. Both of these have a little slot here, and that's where the little catch behind here, the clip, comes into, which means it's really secure. It cannot be pulled out, it doesn't bounce off or anything like that. I had a hard time figuring out how to use these, but both of these work pretty well, and it's not that hard to do. What you do is you take the clip and go through the opening here, slide it in, turn it around here, and you can see that this little band of silicone here has to go underneath the clip. And once you can get that in, then it really locks in. You can see the back side of the clip, and sometimes you have to jiggle it in, which is what I'm showing you here, and then coming around to make sure it actually details onto the rim of the iPod itself. And basically this is just an Ipod Nano. Now my wrist is not the biggest wrist in the world, and it still looks appropriate for this. So you can see it really does look like a watch. And taking these off is pretty simple too. You just pull it down, unclip it out. This one actually looks more functionally like a watch. And in my professional world, this one's actually easier to work with. You know, I actually function as a physician. Nobody says anything about this as being anything but a slightly nerdy watch, only when they find out it's an iPod. Otherwise, without asking, nobody really senses that this is an iPod or not. This really does look like a watch with a proper band. So it just looks like an active watch. I like these bands because it locks in, so you can see where the border is underneath the clip. And then also there's a protection all the way around the edge. Now this one's kind of nice because it lifts up. Now I don't have anything to do with these eBay sites, but you can find these two bands all over on the eBay, and for a few bucks I think it's worth it. And then there's a location